Hey everybody, what's going on? This is Caleb with Devslopes.com, and in this video we're going to go ahead and build our interaction model, which is what's going to help us when we issue a command to Alexa. It's going to help her know what we want to do with our intents, with our custom slot types, and our utterances, okay? The different ways we invoke our skill. So let's pull open our developer portal and pull open our document here, our little planning page. And we're going to go ahead and start by actually launching the Skill Builder beta. I told you we'd check that out, and you are more than welcome to use this, figure out how to use it. But it is still in beta, so it's got a few kinks that it needs to still have worked out. But let's at least give it a look. So launch Skill Builder beta, and let's check out what is inside. So this is a much more visual way of representing our intent and interaction model. So on the side here, there's a dashboard that shows you all of your details for this skill. There is something called the code editor, which actually shows you the JSON for this. There's a visual representation of each of these three intents, and these are the intents that you're given out of the box. And these are required in every Alexa skill. You need to be able to cancel what you're doing. You need to be able to ask for help and get helpful feedback. And you need to be able to say stop to cancel the skill. Now, the invocation name is here as well, which is SwiftLib, and that's pretty cool. And if we go into each of these intents individually, you can click on them and you can see, all the different, details. There are none at the moment, but you can see all the different details. So, for instance, it shows here with the help intent that there are some sample utterances. So what might a user say to invoke this intent? They might say, I don't know what to do. Okay, or they might say, how can I, or maybe what categories can I ask about? Or maybe can I get libraries for? Okay, and check it out. When I go back to the code editor, look what happens. All of our sample utterances pop in right there in the code file, which is really neat. Now, for the stop intent, a user might say stop. They might say quit. They might say never mind. Okay, you can add in all these utterances that someone might use to quit your skill. Same with cancel. Someone might say never mind. Someone might say cancel. Maybe I don't want to do this. I don't know. Just an example. And as you can see, the code gets updated right there. It's very cool. It's a very visual way of doing this. Now, we can also create a custom slot type. Okay, now we already talked about our custom slot type is going to be, where did we put that? Category, right? It's going to be called category. So let's go ahead and let's create a custom slot type. Click add, and I want to show you here first, you can create a custom slot type, which would be category, like we're going to. Or you can use an existing slot type from Alexa's built-in library. And there are tons of libraries in here, 93 in all. And if you go into list types, you can see there's a library for the names of actors and actresses. There's one for the titles of multi-book series, names of colors, titles of comic books. This is just given to you out of the box. Very cool stuff. And there's also generic information like the date. 5 minutes gets converted into a numeric duration, same as 4-digit numbers like 1936 or 1945 would get converted into the appropriate digits instead of the words, which is pretty helpful. There are also numbers. If the word 5 is spoken, it'll convert it into the digit 5, which is really helpful in code. Same with time. You can say 4 in the morning, it'll convert to 4 in the morning, or you can say 2 p.m. It'll turn it into military time, which is easier for working in code anyway. So yeah, pretty cool stuff. But we're going to create a custom slot type because we're cool like that. You know, we're the hipsters of the code world, creating our own stuff.
I mean, definitely worth it, I think.
Anyway, so let's go ahead and let's click create slot type. And now category, think of category like a class, a classifier. A category has multiple, there are multiple different categories within this big class of categories. So we can say animation. That's one category. We could say artificial intelligence. We could say maps. And we could put those all in like that. But there's a really cool thing in this visual method that you can do, which is called adding synonyms. So for artificial intelligence, someone might say AI. For maps, someone might say GPS. And these would link directly to the slot value. So if someone said, give me a GPS library, but they really meant maps, it would go ahead and call maps. If someone said AI instead of artificial intelligence, which is likely what they might do, it would suggest artificial intelligence, which is perfect. So adding synonyms is a really cool way to add in extra functionality for voice, which is something you have to consider that's different than in a normal application for like the iPhone or for the Mac. So that is how you create a custom slot type. Now, a custom intent is different. We need to create a custom intent that's going to suggest a particular category. So click on Add for a custom intent. And of course, there are built-in intents, right? Like search actors, search book titles. But we're going to create our own called Suggest Category Intent. And click Create Intent. And now we can put in our sample utterances right here. So someone might say something like, we should create an intent slot first, because in order to actually use our slot, we need to actually type in the name, category, and in our intent slot, we need to choose one of our actual slots. So an intent slot is different from a slot. An intent slot is basically kind of like a bridge between your intent and your slots. And so category is the one we made, so we can choose category, which is pretty cool. And so now we can go ahead and head back to sample utterances, and a user might say, suggest a, and now that this is where we want to use our category, so we're going to use a curly bracket, choose category by clicking, and then say library. Press enter. Alexa, suggest a maps library. Cool. Or we can say, suggest a Swift library. We could say, we could just say the category, right? If the skill says, what category would you like a skill from? Maps. We could just say the single name, which is pretty neat. So now we have a suggest category intent. We have an intent slot that is filled with our custom slot type, which has access to all of these different things. So pretty cool stuff. This is the visual way to do it, but I want to show you the way to do this manually. So what we're going to do, we're going to go ahead and head to our dashboard. We're going to scroll down and click opt out of beta preview. Click that leave beta preview button. It is going to delete everything we just did, but that's fine. If you want to proceed with the way that we're doing now, that's totally fine. But I want to show you the manual way so you know how to do it both ways. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to build our intent schema, which is that code I showed you in the code editor. We're going to actually write the code here and set it up with our cancel intent, our help intent, and our stop intent. Those three are required. Then we're going to set up our custom slot and intent slot. Then we're going to set up our custom intent. So in the intent schema, let me zoom in here so we can see a little bit better. Yeah, there we go. We're going to go ahead and just type some curly brackets, and then this is JSON. So it's just a dictionary, and there will be an array that has, I guess, nested dictionary objects. So it's a little complicated, but we're going to go ahead and just start by typing intents. That's the first key. And intents is going to be a dictionary, an array with dictionaries inside of it. So the first key links directly to an array, and then inside of that array, we're going to build a little dictionary, and we're going to say intent, a colon, and the value for that key is going to be Amazon in all caps dot cancel intent. Okay? Now put a comma and do it again. Intent, colon, and quotes, Amazon dot help intent. Pay attention to spelling. It's super important. Or capitalization, I mean. Comma, and let's do it one more time. This intent is going to be called Amazon dot stop intent. Alrighty? So we now have access to our cancel intent, help intent, and our stop intent. Now we need to go ahead and add our custom slots, which will be our intent slot and our basic slot. And then we're going to add our custom intent. So put a comma, build another little dictionary here, and the first value is going to be called slots. Put a colon, and the value for this key is going to be an array. So put a straight bracket and then put another dictionary inside of it. Okay? Inside slots, we're going to go ahead and put two values. The first one is name, that's the key, and the value is category, right? That is our custom slot type. And let's actually use a capital C. Then put a comma, and below that, we're going to say type, okay? And it's also going to be category. Now, you're probably thinking, whoa, 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 what's going on? What's happening? Now, the name, that's for the slot, and the type, that's for the intent slot. So we created both of those, and basically it's a bridge in order to connect our custom intent to our slot, which is category. So after the straight brackets here, go ahead and put another comma. Then we're going to put one last item, which is intent. And now the name of it, like we wanted to say, was suggest library intent. And we're done. Okay, our intent schema is now built. We now can invoke the cancel intent, the help intent, the stop intent, and we have a custom intent with intent slot and a slot. So our intent schema is now done, which is very, very cool. Now we need to actually set up our custom slot type, alrighty? Which is going to be category, okay? Now the values, these are all the different categories we're going to add in. So I'm actually going to go ahead and just copy and paste my list of categories. You can go ahead and go through and add them yourself whenever you want. But basically we've got artificial intelligence, audio, cache, data management device. This is just a list of categories that you can add. So I'll go ahead and just scroll through them here so you can see them all. If you want to pause the video and copy them in yourself, that's totally fine. And yeah, so that is our category, which is our slot type. These are the different values in that slot type. And now this is where we need to think, what might a user say to invoke our skill? So what we need to do is first list our custom intent, which was suggest library intent. And I'm actually going to go ahead and copy that because we're going to need it a few times. And now we can basically, in curly brackets, put in our category. We can put in our custom slot type. So this suggest library intent is called when I say open SwiftLib, right? That knows that I want it to suggest a library. And then we could just say maps, okay? Open SwiftLib. What would you like to do? Or what kind of library would you want? Maps, okay? We could also say ask SwiftLib to suggest a maps, or whatever we want, library. And this is actually where our possible invocations are going to come into play. So we can say something like this, suggest a blank framework, in case you say framework by mistake. Category framework. Okay, we could say what? Suggest library intent for a category library. And I'm actually going to copy this and make it for framework as well, because sometimes people say framework instead of library. So check it out. Ask SwiftLib to maybe I should say to suggest. Ask SwiftLib to suggest a maps library. Ask SwiftLib to suggest a maps framework. Ask SwiftLib for an animation library. Oh, we should do an as well so that we don't get confused here. And then we'll do framework as well. Okay, fantastic. So now we have things we can say in order to actually launch our skill. So with that said, our interaction model is now done. We have our intent schema linking the cancel intent, the help intent, the stop intent, and our custom suggest library intent, which this is what we're going to use to actually run our skill. And you'll see it'll become very clear when we start writing our code in AWS Lambda. Now, we have a custom slot type called category with a bunch of different values, 23 separate categories that we can pull information from. And we also built some sample utterances, which are going to allow us to use our skill in certain ways with our voice. Now, we should definitely save our work and move on to the next video. So I'm going to click save. We're going to go ahead and dive into AWS Lambda, and we're going to actually look at some examples from Amazon so you can see what's going on behind the scenes with AWS Lambda. But it looks like we have some problems here. Let's scroll up and see what the issue is. It says that our slot type here is category, But what is it saying? It's telling us there are missing slot values in slot type category for slot category. So it looks like oh, you know what? I was zoomed in too far. There is an add button for slot types. So after you type all this information, click add. That's kind of an aha, whoops. And now it's actually saved. So now it can actually reference our slot type. So let's go try to save now and cross our fingers. Let's see, will it save? Will it save? Okay, it says it's being built. Please wait while your model is built. So up here, this should change to a green check mark if everything we did is hunky-dory. So in that way, we are ready to move on. Okay, we're going to move on to the next video. We'll look at AWS Lambda. We'll set up an AWS account. And then what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and look at some example functions and then start writing our very own AWS Lambda functions. It's going to be really, really cool. We're diving in. We're almost there to where we can actually interact with Alexa. Very, very cool stuff. Let's head over to that video now, and I'll see you there. Oh, look at that. Boom. It's saved. Green check. We're good to go. Let's head over to the next video.